Welcome to another episode of Three Questions. Today I am in another part of Australia, about a 1 hour south of Melbourne. Frankston, is that how I pronounce this?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, okay, I got it right. Whew. Today I am with
Stephanie Johnson of Cosmic Apps, Astro Gold, iOS and macOS.
Yes, that's a lot there that you do there.
Yes.
To put it in different languaging for someone watching, do you have an iPhone and you're using Astro Gold? That's what she's doing. She's behind all that. Are you a Macintosh Mac user and using Astro Gold? Like you watch my live streams and you notice everything I'm doing? That's Astro Gold for the Mac. Stephanie is behind that all and is based here out in Victoria. Is that the province we're in?
Yes.
Yeah,
Victoria is a state.
It's a state.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Province sounds better though, doesn't it?
It does, but it's a state. It's a state where I am too. We have 50 of them. So for those watching my channel members know I try to do these interviews, and whoever I have on doesn't know the questions if they haven't watched my videos already, and I tell them don't watch my videos until after. So Stephanie, you haven't watched any of my videos?
I haven't. I've been very good.
Okay, good. We're going to start with the first question, okay?
Okay.
All right. Stephanie, what's your favorite astrological technique?
That's a really good question. That's really tricky too.
Yeah.
Favorite? Well, I use both the traditional techniques, but I'd have to say, choosing between perfections and progressions, I think I would have to say the secondary progressed lunar phases. I really like them. I think they tell what phase of life we're in, the background story, and the background story to all the other techniques. So, yeah, I think that's my favorite.
You're not the only one who says
okay.
this. And, you'd be surprised, Stephanie, when you go watch some of my videos or listen to some of the audio podcasts, what people are saying in answer to this question. But you're not the only one saying that. And some of the people you'll hear, you won't believe it because they're known for other astrological techniques.
Yes.
So this is the second time on this current trip that someone said moon phases. I'm a huge fan of them too. You know, when someone tells me, or when I get the first look at a progressed chart, obviously the first thing I'm looking at, I'm also looking at the progressed ascendant. I'm also looking at progressed Mercury too. Sometimes if it just shifted retrograde in a progressed chart, or that's a huge moment from a mercurial-based way, or just moving forward. But yeah, go ahead.
You're right. No, I was going to say all the progressions are really cool too. And when a planet, the outer ones are moving much more slowly, so when it changes direction or a sign, it can be quite significant as well. You did ask me to pick one. Yeah,
I did ask you to pick one. Currently, I am having a massive, full moon, waxing full moon. I'm about to have my progressed moon. Is about to have my lunar moon. So I'm about how would you say that? Progressed lunar return? Is that what?
Correct.
Yeah. So, do you mind saying which phase you're in?
Oh no, definitely. I'm happy to say that I'm pretty open about everything astrological, as we have been talking non-stop since Nicholas has been here in this part of the world.
Yeah.
I'm currently in a balsamic. And so that has informed me about, I'm a Sag, I can be very driven, I can love new things, and I got what we call here shiny object syndrome. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's like, oh cool, let's do that. And the balsamic has really encouraged me to slow down and let go. And of course, I think I've said this on my own channels, which is my beautiful mother passed away last year, so there was a letting go there. And for many years I've been associated with solar fire, and I've let go of that, and Astrolabe will take that over, which they have obviously for many years. And so now, yes, you don't get rid of everything, but certainly the balsamic has informed me and helped me make choices.
Yeah.
And the balsamic is the end of the phases. For those who don't know, it's the end phase before you go into a whole new moon. So it's kind of a winter of your life in some ways.
Yeah, we close down shop, or we clean the dirt off. It's kind of some people quote unquote, not a death phase, but the ending phase. And we do it every month before several days before a new moon. We do a balsamic moon phase, and And you don't see the moon out there, you know, basically when it's happening. But yeah, it's a clearing. I always say it's a clearing of the dirt. We're going to be calm, stand still. And when the new moon comes, we plant again. And so for me, my planting happened 2013. I can't remember progress-wise. I remember the balsamic phase that I had, and then I had my progress new moon phase started at 29 Cancer, which is interesting. And here I am years later at the full moon part of the progress moon phase. So you're out there, you know, I'm going to put links to stuff, to educational links. I'm a big fan of Demetra's book on the basic learning of this. It's called Finding Your Way Through the Dark.
Oh, it's a fabulous book. I read that when it's going to show my age, but I read that when it first came out. Brilliant book. I thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah, and then there's other people who are, if you're from the Dane Rujar way, there's a book called The Lunation Cycle, pretty heavy text-wise. If you know of Dane's work, many people were influenced by that too, and there's several other people who have written about moon phases and so on and so forth. So, and as I've always say on this channel, when moon phases are mentioned, it's a great way to learn aspects on a base core end. You know, because when you let's say the 8 parts of a lunar phase in astrology, when we do the 8 parts, are in a sense representative of aspects, the degree points, so on and so forth. All right. Thanks. Go ahead. You have anything else to say?
No, I was about to say question number 2.
Yeah,
coming.
We're about to, yeah. I do this on purpose. So, yeah, thanks for answering question number 2.
1.
Or 1, thank you. Number 2. What is your earliest memory connected to astrology?
That's a really interesting question too, because I've often been asked this too and wondered, because it kind of, my earliest memory probably is in my late teens, early 20s, going through a rough patch, and my mother actually sending me to an astrologer in Adelaide. And that was really cool, and that kind of, I guess, whetted my appetite for astrology. But I have a feeling that I might have read, this again is going to, well, Linda Goodman is still read widely and is still an introduction to many kind of, when you're young, getting into things. I mean, I'm amazed that we were talking before about young people these days are really getting into the Hellenistic techniques and all of that, and that's cool. But back in the day, none of that was available. So Linda Goodman's sun sign books. But yeah. I also remember reading that and thinking, oh, I'm not a typical Sag. No, that's not true. I'm not, you know, traveling around the world. Then I picked up a Liz Greene book, and she talked about 2 types of fire signs, the introverted and the extroverted. And the introverted Sagittarian doing, having deep and meaningful conversations, being the armchair philosopher. I always remember, I loved that phrase. Yeah. And that was when it really sparked my interest as well, because I went, that's me. How do they know? Like most people who get into astrology, how do they know that? Yeah. You make the connection. Yeah. I find it interesting that your mom set you up with a session, which means in a sense she was into astrology enough to go like, I'm going to send you to an astrologer. Was it that way, or is it? No, not really, which is really interesting too. Yeah, she had, back in the day, again, she was divorced. They were separating. My mother and father were separating. And in her circle, we were in Adelaide and kind of in what you would call, I guess, an upper class circle back in the day. And that was a big thing, you know, getting divorced was a big thing. So I think that was the start of, or a little spark of a journey for her. You know, I think somebody had said to her, well, why don't you see an astrologer? Which is it was so random. Yeah. It was really random.
Okay, but,
clearly she was meant to be, it's interesting because her sun sign's on my south node. So for those of you who know a little bit of astrology, I think she never saw another astrologer. She was very, very Christian. And so that was some random, you know, kind of destiny thing that she sparked me on this big journey, but never really went down that path herself.
Ah, I see. And how old was that when that happened again?
Me, I would have been about 20, I think.
Okay, so when you had the reading?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So younger when I was reading the books, but then 20 I had the reading, and around about that time I read the Liz Greene, because it kind of went, how did they know that? And I started searching. And then, of course, I did the old American Ephemeris and got that all out. And so went computers and...
Yeah, you did the because 20 would be you were in starting
You want to age me?
Yeah, well,
It's okay. It's
20
okay.
would be a last quarter Saturnian square happening, correct?
Yeah. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly right.
I mean, last quarter, as in when we do our Saturn opposition, the first one's between 13 and 15 years old, and then we're doing the next Saturn square after that, around 20 to 21, 22, depending. That's why I went there for those watching Word on my Brain. This goes back to what we're talking about moon phase-wise, because if I said last quarter, we're doing, let's say, 4 phases in a month, the last quarter is a square, and then, the next phase would be balsamic. Anyway, I had to throw that in there, but
cool.
a lot of...
There would have been astrological significance. I should look back.
Yeah, yep. I do this when people are talking about the past. There's a lot of times I've heard stories on here. Oh, when I was 7 years old. I'm like, when you were 7 years old? Okay. Or when I was 13, 12, like Jupiter return. There's certain things I've caught on these interviews.
Well, one thing I should say is before astrology, I was one of those kids who was very spiritual. Astrologically, I had a transit when I was 5 months old, which meant that I actually died and they brought me back to life. And I think that really sparked me on a spiritual journey very, very early on.
Wow.
So I am very, not spiritual in the New Age sense. I studied theology and things like that, but a seeker, a Sagittarian seeker.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely are. But that just solidified it. That story you just said right there. That's that's no joke right there. And one more thing, I'm curious as a Sagittarius seeker, when you were interacting, let's say from your consulting business one-on-one with clients, what do you see there that comes up? Is there a common thread? Are you being more Jupiterian for your clients? Is it more Saturnian? Is it a mix of things? What have you noticed?
It's really interesting, and I think it's that old saying that when you've got something to learn, you bring in clients. So, and I know that when I'm going through a big change, I'll bring in a certain type of client. But when I'm kind of back into, okay, I'm clear of my purpose, the waves have settled a little bit, then I get all types of clients.
Sure.
But I would say in answer to your question, a little bit of both. Because even though Jupiter is strong in my chart, Saturn and Mercury are conjunct for those who know astrology, and that gives me a very serious edge.
Yeah.
And but I do tend to be like, go for it, encouraging. I see so many people, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but here in Australia, and also I have clients around the world, but if it's one thing I would say, it's just that Nike thing of just do it. Some Virgos are waiting for it to be perfect, or Cancerians waiting for them to feel comfortable, or whatever, but believe in yourself and go for it. And I think that's what I do in my thing. It's like, okay, let's look at the inspiration, the soul purpose. If you're following your passion, I think that's my big thing, follow your passion. When we first started out with Solar Fire, my partner Graham was like, he was in a really well-paid job as a software developer for a big company in Adelaide, and I was a journalist. And we were like, oh my gosh, should we go into astrology? And our families, both of them, to be fair, it was Graham's family as well as mine, were like, you're going to do what? There were so many things stacked against us in terms of our 11th house and our family. But we just did it.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I don't know if you know this saying, but we lived off the smell of an oily rag, which basically says we did it tough.
Yes.
Financially. But because we were following our passion, and there were times when, one of us would want to give up, and the other one would go, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm so glad we did, because you ride the waves, the rough ones and so that's what I do for my clients. It's like, if you're on the right path, the doors will open. If you've got obstacles, then you've got to use your kind of intuition. But sometimes obstacles are saying stop, but sometimes they're just saying you've reached the next level.
Yeah.
So keep pushing through. Keep pushing through.
And usually in situations like that too, it can be very uncomfortable, but that's where we learn. I think too is in challenging situations, and then we have to solve a problem, let's say, or move through a problem. And other times I've noticed too, the challenge itself could be just having to wait. Sometimes you can't solve or fix anything, especially with certain transits. I've had clients who've had Saturnian type transits. We want to say sometimes, oh, there's something you figure out and you can work through, but I've seen Saturnian transits where one just basically has to sit and wait and contemplate, and then things eventually shift too, So saying that, I don't want to point something else out here. When do you remember the year when the first edition of Solarfire was published, like the software?
In 1993.
93?
So we were working on it from 1990, and we just kept working on it because Windows had started to come out. But I think Solarfire 1 was 1993. And we went to a conference in Sydney in 1994, and it just took off. And also Astrologer took over the distribution overseas. And this is before the internet.
Yeah.
I think the internet was just coming out. And so, we were in our lounge room kind of folding newsletters and printing them off on our printers. And, it was really funny.
Dot matrix printers that took forever. You
Not
remember?
quite.
I know.
But yes.
Yeah. For some reason in my head right now, because some of you know here that I've collected astrology books, or I have, and I'm starting to get rid of them, but I think I have a couple editions of Solarfire manuals that are printed.
Yes.
Yeah, they were. They would. Anyway,
there's one in my drawer that I've kept. I haven't kept them all, but there's one that's like the old folders with the spirals, and it's A4.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Solarfire 1, and this funny little pixelated glyph on the front. It's like it's really cool.
Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot here in a sense and say, if 93 you put out the first edition with Graham. Did you know that pretty much it became eventually one of the top astrology programs in the world? I mean, if you think about this in Western astrology, I mean, at that, for a huge period of time, there's so many different softwares now, and we're doing things on our phones. I mean, I could calculate a chart on your phone, right? But if from that in the 90s on, I mean, pretty much there was like 3 or 4 maybe max. I don't know, like.
Programs. There were well-established programs in on DOS, for Microsoft. So Blue Star that Dave Cochran did, and Nova. It wasn't called Nova Chart Wheels then. It was Nova, which Rob Hand did.
And Matrix, was it Matrix?
Yeah,
Michael's stuff.
Matrix.
Michael Erlewine.
He did Blue Star. Yes.
He did Blue Star. Mm-hmm.
So what we had in our favour, I think, was 2 things: the combination of our talents meant that the way we brought out Solarfire, and some people would say it's dated now, but the way we brought it out was to make it as user-friendly and as not alien to someone back then, just starting out in Windows. And also that it was the first Windows at the time. So we were leaders. Did we know? No. We were just really grateful that we could make a living doing something we loved.
Yeah, which goes back in a sense to the answer of this question, or how you we went on a tangent about like what you would say to clients, and follow your passion or go for it. You also mentioned that you have a Mercury-Saturn conjunction, and I know there's a part of you just talking that sometimes Mercury and Sagittarius, they have this thing. It's completely hopeful and optimistic all the time, can sell you on anything like a Mercury and Gemini can. By the way, I think Mercury and Gemini are the top salesmen. I would say the second one, Mercury and Sag, but to have Saturn there, I also know you're very direct and real and honest, I've noticed in conversation, and I could probably see some of that happening with your clients, like, hey, I'm going to be real with you,
we had fabulous first clients, and I even had, I've got to mention her name, Anne Fryer. I don't know if she'll ever see this, and I'm sorry for the others whose names I can't remember, but she came in right off the beginning, and in South Australia, and supported us and believed in us. And we also were doing esoteric astrology at the time as well. So we added in some of the rays and things into Solarfire.
Alice Bailey, we're talking Alice Bailey, yeah.
And people like Philip Lindsay and some other people who've passed on, they were all behind us. So we had a lot of support. And you can cut me off if you think, because we can talk. We both can talk astrology forever. But one of the things I was going to say is the 11th house is really such an important house in our chart, because friends and colleagues will support us where sometimes our family, not meaning to, but they see us in a certain light.
Yeah.
So while I was a journalist and out and about in the Adelaide kind of community, I think my family saw me in a certain light, but it was the 11th house that really kicked in with the astrology and came and supported us. And, I'm forever grateful for that at the beginning.
Yeah, from some of the classical ways of looking at things, we have third house from a Hellenistic point of view that will deal with dream interpretation. You have a certain type of dream that happens in the 9th, but for me, the 11th is your patrons, supporters, and friends and community that support your hopes and aspirations in those dreams, right? It's the combination that could happen in the 11th house. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
It's true because, your family will go, are you crazy?
Yeah.
What about this? And they're doing it out of care and concern, whereas your friends will go, oh yeah, you've always been a philosopher and you've always been interested in astrology. Go for it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad that we kind of came to a place with the 11th house here too. So, I did ask a second question and we went, and this is how it works on these recordings. So thank you for answering that in sub questions. Okay. Kind of the last question here. Sometimes it turns into another one, but we'll see. Is there anything that you're researching or reading right now that's not quote unquote astrology? I know everything is related to astrology, but is there anything outside of astrology that you've taken interest in or that you're gravitating towards? Or is there a book recently that you've been reading that you've enjoyed? Or
it's funny because I'm always looking into astrology, into theology, into the ancient wisdom teachings. So what I've actually been trying to do, again, we go back to the beginning really with the balsamic phase, is I've been trying to let go of some of that research and actually just do something for fun. So for instance, I just read a novel called The Listeners. Again, it's set in America actually during the World War II. And really enjoyable if you're wanting to just relax. In terms of research, no, I have to say I'm really looking into the joys of the planets at the moment and really seeing how that and sect, S-E-C-T, sect, planetary sect, diurnal versus nocturnal, it really lays the foundations for the way even modern astrologers look at the charts. So, yeah, really getting into that. So I find it very hard to get away from. When I was saying last night to Nicholas or the other day, when I first started astrology, I thought, I did an intensive course for one weekend. I thought, how are they going to stretch this out to a whole weekend? And, like 30 years later, it's like, okay, I've still got so much more I want to research.
Yeah, and I feel you on that. I mean, in the astrology world, I think it's with everything actually. If someone has a passion about particular something in the world, you keep going, you can always research, or there's always something new that pops up. But I asked this question too because, by the way, do you remember the author of the book, the novel that you read? Maggie
Stiefvater or something.
Yeah, like because whenever people mention books on here, I put everything in the copy links.
Yes, it just came up randomly on my socials, and I thought that looks interesting, and it was a lovely read.
Yeah.
But with my research too. We've been talking a lot, as I said. I've been very lucky as a Sagittarian. If you're a Sagittarian, you can be very lucky with the teachers who you attract. And so, my original teacher was Bernadette Brady, and we're still in touch today. And a beautiful friend of mine, back in 1995, I was studying the traditional techniques, mainly medieval Arabic. Bob was it was almost like he was a reincarnated Guido Bonatti, but
Robert Zoller, for those,
Zoller, if you get any of his books or find any of his resources, they're pretty rare. And where was I going with that? So all of that, all of those techniques, I bring back today to look at both the software, so the Astro Gold, getting back to that, but also my clients. I think it's so important that when people, particularly if they're coming to you for the first time, that you've got that accuracy. So for me, it's kind of like, constantly researching and bringing it back into the consultation room. And I'm sure Nicholas is the same, and many other astrologers, because that can be your bread and butter. For me, it's not my bread and butter. I'm very, very lucky. I've got the Astro Gold, and I love working on that. And I don't do a lot of asteroids, but also going back to your question, at the moment there's apparently 2 newish centaurs that have been discovered in the asteroid belt. So, we're looking into that. So there's always something to research.
Yeah, again, this question asks you about outside, but it's part of your life.
Yeah.
Part of your life, you're part of a. I mean, those of you know, I use Astro Gold on the Mac, and it's one of the pillars of my practice. I'm on it every day. I don't know what I do without it, and I noticed too over the years from when it first was launched till now, like what has been added, and I always try to take the position of someone who's building something like that, or you're on the back end and there's user requests and there's bugs, and you all try to do that, and you have to stay with the times technologically and always upgrade and stay with, which you have been incredible at with that software. But I always, sometimes when I'm using techniques or certain parts of it, like on the sheets part of it, I always wonder something like how long did it take for them to do this, and the research involved to add just one part of a piece of software in the astrological world, and that's always evolving, right? Because I think since the late 80s till now, there's been a huge resurgence in astrology, but you have many people who have been translating Arabic texts, Latin texts, and it's opened up this astrology the last 30, 40 years. And so that's been incorporated in software, right? And adding techniques or calculations, and it's endless, it seems. You just mentioned 2 centaurs, right? And it just keeps going. But I could see that the fun part of that is like, be able to can this technique or something there, can that be put into a software, and how could we do this, right?
How can we do,
yeah
what is it, what's the algorithm, how can it be put into the software, how difficult or easy is it to put it into the existing structure, and then how do we make it accessible or easy for people to use, that they're not sort of going, oh, it's over there, or it's over there, or it's over there. And a shout out to Graham Dawson, who he and I have been together in business on and off for 30 years, and he is a brilliant programmer. I'd also like to give a shout out to Chris Brennan, who has helped with the traditional techniques in a great way. There are people behind us who also, if we throw a question out to them, we think it does it this way, but what do you think? Usually they come back with, yeah, and you can do it. Yes, you can do the zodiacal releasings via this, but also you can do it this way. Or you can perfect the ascendant, but you can also perfect the moon and the sun and okay.
And then all of a sudden it turns into something bigger. I said something to you last night.
Yes.
I go,
yes.
you have this.
Watching TV, and this lovely man says, by the way, can Astro Gold do this?
I put in my request, basically face to face. But you got it. You saw what I was talking about, and then again, it's just an amazing. I feel fortunate to be living in these times. If we're astrologers, it goes back to something else. I did take a class to a close friend of mine, Laura Nalbandian. Hello, Laura. I work with Norwalk, but it's one of my first teachers. And even as an evolutionary astrologer, I remember the period of time myself and other students sat on the couch and we hand calculated.
Oh. Yeah.
We hand calculated charts. I don't want to do that again. But you realize when you do something like that, and you realize what people were doing before software and how they had to do it. The atlas, book of tables, the ephemeris, an eraser. You need an eraser and a pencil and a calculator. And so again,
algorithms.
Remember
that?
Yeah. So
and I think it's really important. I know this is going to make me sound very old-fashioned, but despite the fact that I come out with the software, I think one of the best places to start. I remember picking up Louis and Zakowen's book on how to calculate and getting completely discombobulated, and then going to Bernadette Brady's class and having to do the hand calculations. And that, believe it or not, that mathematical or astronomical side is not something that comes naturally to me.
Yeah.
But it's really important because it kind of, it helps you understand, well, how does astrology work? And especially when you get questions like, what about a Fiacus? Is there really a 13th zodiac sign? No. But you're there at the nuts and bolts of it. So I really recommend that as a good way to start. But I think a lot are not doing that now.
Yeah, I remember doing it too, that certain parts of my chart would appear to me in a way that I'd never, constructing it, and there were certain types of knowledge that would come through. They would only come through by hand calculating the chart.
I think it's got something to do with the link between the hand and the mind, and particularly for you as a Gemini.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, there's people still teaching right now. There's certain certification programs that part of to get a certification, you got to hand calculate a chart. There's other people who do private lessons too. I even know Demetra did a hand calculating chart here about a year and a half ago. But they're out there if you're willing to go there. The sun's shining on you, Stephanie. Look at this. It's like not on me, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's this boom, like a spotlight.
I'm a diurnal chart. You're the nocturnal
I'm the
chart.
nocturnal chart. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
You're like a night monkey. You come out at night.
Yep, I do. I've always been a night owl. I'm trying to change that and get to sleep earlier. I get my circadian rhythms in order. But yeah, I'm a nocturnal chart. It's so funny. I'll end here saying that sect that we talked about earlier. I did another interview earlier this week with a particular astrologer that you met last night. We won't say who because they're not going to be able to see that episode yet, but they brought up sect also this week.
They did.
And
synchronicity.
yeah, and I'll put those links in the copy along with everything else. Stephanie, where can people find out more about you?
Well, I would suggest they find out more about Astro Gold and me at www.astrogold.io or follow us on Instagram at Astro Gold Astrology. We're also on Facebook. For those of you who already have Astro Gold, we have I'm not a real follower on Facebook, but our Facebook group, which I started many years ago and have now handed over to a couple of other people and just pop in now and then, but everybody who's on it is so generous with their, guess what, you can do this, or how come it's doing this? Oh, that's because. And it's a great tool, not just for learning the software, but also for exchanging astrological techniques, because sometimes even I do it. I go, wow, Mercury's not, or Pluto's not actually transiting Mercury at the moment. Why is it doing that? And then you go, it's actually, in a client's chart, it's actually progressed Mercury. These are the sorts of things that get picked up in this Facebook group called Astro Gold Professional Astrology Tools. Yep,
I'm on there and over the years. And yeah, sometimes you see how somebody will approach calculating something and there's different ways of doing it. So yeah, you're doing your website there. You mentioned that on a personal basis for consultations.
Oh, great. Yeah, Seeing with Stars. So www.seeingwithstars.net or .com. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been the last couple of months on your Instagram profile for both, for Astro Gold and your Seeing with Stars. I see you posting much more. There's the YouTube channel that you have, correct?
Now YouTube is really good for how-to.
Yes, you have
and we have it in different languages. So, one of the things I love about going on our Instagram is that we have people from around the world, which of course means sometimes I don't understand what they're saying, but I can see what they're doing. But we have Chinese, Turkish, Spanish,
Japanese,
yes.
Yeah,
and of course quite a few of us in English, telling you this. And even if you don't understand the language, once you get to the part where you're following, I call it following the bouncing ball.
Yeah,
this is how you do something.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, there's a couple tutorials on there. They're like an hour and 15 minutes long that Rhonda's done there too. And I'm actually going to be doing some more on the channel. Some of you know I've talked about this with my Patreon members, just how I move through the software and basics. And I know some of you have reached me privately, like, how did you do this? I'm like, okay, this is how I did it, So there's that. Stephanie. See? Not so bad, not knowing the questions, right?
Yeah, okay.
You got,
if you say so.
If I say so, yeah.
Cool.
It was good.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thanks for coming on the 3 Questions podcast and everything else here. We've been hanging out the last several days, and you've showed me around, and we've had great conversations, immense astrological book collection, to bringing me to an AFL game last night. We've had a good time, we've had a good time. So thank you. Thank you for everything. Everyone else, my Patreon members are going to see this first, along with my paid YouTube channel members. And obviously, as you know, I'll put this out publicly. Usually at the end of these videos, I'm going to put the playlist to the rest of the 3 Questions interviews I've done in the past. And thank you for your support. All right. So see you later.